everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Season 3 of Beyond Reform. This is a weekly podcast of the Transformation Implementation Unit. I'm your host, Aniki Clark, and we are very happy that you have tuned in for this episode. But remember, you can check out other episodes on our website at publicsectortransformation.gov.jm. Today we are in the winner's circle. Yeah. We'll be chatting with the winners of the 2024 Public Sector Debate Competition, the Ministry of Justice, and Germaine Barrett, who is the founder and executive director of the Jamaican Association for Debating and Empowerment, known as JADE. But before we get into the discussion, let's meet the team, beginning with Demoy.
Hello, everybody. I am Demoy Whiteley. My position is I work at the Ministry of Justice. I am the office manager in the Social Justice Division. Whenever you saw me playing, I was either the third speaker, and I think I played first speaker once.
Okay. Yes. All right, great. Thanks, Demoy. And next we have...
Hi there, listeners. I am Jonah Lee Robertson, Acting Director for the Restorative Justice Branch in the Social Justice Division of the Ministry of Justice. I would have had the pleasure of being first speaker and reply speaker throughout the competition.
Awesome. Next.
Hello everyone, my name is Peyton Patterson. I am Crown Counsel in the Legal Services Unit at the Ministry of Justice. Whenever I represented the Ministry of Justice debate team, I was the second speaker.
Yes, you held that position right throughout. And finally, we get to meet the team captain.
Good day, everyone. My name is Claudia Powell, Director of Organizational Development and Change Management at the Ministry of Justice. And whenever I do participate for the ministry in the debate competition, I normally participate in the first row.
Okay, so you were the first speaker.
Yes.
All right, so we have the team. There's one member missing. Unfortunately, he could not be here, but he played a couple of matches, I think.
So that's Mr. O'Shane Haynes, and he was our third speaker.
He was
first.
No, man. Third speaker.
He was third speaker.
Yeah, whenever he played.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, Peyton looking a little like, I'm not so sure about that.
My memory is notoriously poor, so I'll yield to them more on this.
Okay, no worries. And Germaine, you're not a stranger to the microphone. What was Jade's role in the public sector debate competition?
Hi, Aniki. Hello, everyone. So Jade was essentially tasked with executing the competition from, training the participants from across the public sector to crafting the moots and ultimately to adjudicate the competition all the way up to the grand finals.
Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations once again for winning the competition this year. I mean, it's been a little while, but how does it feel to really be crowned victors of the public sector debate competition?
It is very overwhelming, the feeling. I feel like a puppy. I am very happy. And I just want the others to know, never underestimate the silent river, which is the Ministry of Justice. And when I reflect on last year, we had some unforeseen circumstances and did not make it through the first round. And to actually make it past the first round, at that stage, the feeling started to come of that happiness, we're going to make it, we're going to do it. And so having reached and win the competition against all these giants, David and Goliath did play out.
Oh, awesome. You went up against the Administrator General's department. This must have been special for you because your minister and permanent secretary were there to support both teams because you're part of the same portfolio. How did that feel?
Well, it's a mixed feeling. And to explain the mixed, we were going up against family. And at the same time, we know that if we won, it would be home. The trophy would be taken home either way. And as an inside joke between admin and us is that we beat our children because we are the parents. And so on behalf,
there certainly were no children in the competition.
On behalf of the team, and I can speak for the team, we are very appreciative to our Minister, Honorable Delroy Chuck, and our Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Grace and Stuart McFarlane, for their unwavering support throughout the competition. And even while we were preparing to actually go on the stage, Minister was giving us some tidbits, which was very, very helpful and helped us through us achieving and reaching where we are today. And the Permanent Secretary, I must say, yes, PS, you have gotten your ROI. She has supported us right through decision-making process, through our operations, and make sure that we were fed and taken care of throughout the process.
Awesome. And Jonah Lee, I mean, you were the best speaker of the final match. That was really special for you. You got really emotional. I still see it. How did that feel for you?
It would be nice to erase that from the internet. But I'll say that it was an amazing feeling. It's really nice when you put in the effort and you see the rewards of it. I think it was an amazing competition in terms of the best speaker role for the finals. I think it's the first time that we would have seen so many speakers vying for that role and the judges having such a difficult decision to determine who would eventually be selected for the role. So I'm really grateful. It felt nice. I'm humbled, to be honest. And of course, big up Peyton.
Oh, yes, I remember that. Jonah Lee spoke, she was the best speaker for the final match, but Peyton, you copped a very special prize. You were the overall best speaker and you went off to the UNGA with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as part of Jamaica's delegation. How was the experience for you?
It was an amazing experience, and to be honest, it was the first time that I've actually left the country. So it was quite a new experience for me. And at the UNGA, I had the opportunity to see world leaders present on behalf of their countries, talking about the issues that face them, their problems, whether economic or social, and how it is that they're addressing them. And I realized that, a lot of countries, no matter how different we are, a lot of us are facing the same problems, and it was good to see their presentation styles, how it is that they brought across their points, and just getting an opportunity to witness diplomacy firsthand and to rub shoulders with some of the world's foremost leaders was a breathtaking experience.
Oh, very good. Is there something you're particularly proud of, Jonah Lee, having participated in the competition beyond just the win?
I think I'm proud of our resilience as a team. That's something that I celebrate on every occasion. It would have been a lot of sleepless nights. It would have been, we did not take for granted who our opponents were. And I think even in instances where we were doubted because we were the underdogs or we were new, we still decided that, listen, we're going to go out there and we're going to win. And even when we did not necessarily like the position from which we were arguing, we were like, that's irrespective, because when we go out there, we're putting on a show, and at the end of the day, the Ministry of Justice cannot and will not fail. End of story.
All right. And let's pick up on that. Peyton, how do you handle topics where, you may disagree with the moods and the position, whether you're a proponent or opponent? How do you resolve that as a team?
Well, the reality is, our position is given to us by Jade. So what we feel personally does not matter. It has no bearing on it. So yes, while we're actually drafting our points, we might say, so I don't agree with that, or I don't feel so at all. And, that is how we personally feel, and we respect our personal views. But our position was given to us, and so we go out there and we craft our arguments in such a fashion that they are the best and the strongest arguments. You look at both sides, and when it is that you don't agree, you have a better viewpoint of what it is that the other side is going to come with, because you actually feel that way. Yes. But you pick holes in the argument and you look at the strongest rebuttals, and so you craft your arguments so that they are more convincing than the other side. Sometimes you even manage to convince yourself and change your own opinions.
That's the power of debating. Demoy, how has the experience changed your perspective on debating or even on certain issues?
Well, to be honest with you, let's just say I had an innate ability to debate, but I hated the structure of debating. Yes. So I was not really one to, make noise. But in this case, it was really hard to put in the research. You had to know exactly what you're doing, even if we disagreed on a topic, because we have debated, or we did debate topics that based on either we're for or against, and we're normally against when we're for, if you understand. Mm-hmm. But what I learned was, we had to separate the personal deal with the data, and at the end of the day, it is the point of view that you want to bring across. Because at the end of the day, no matter what it is, it's still words. There must be something there that can be challenged, if it's even not a technicality. And that we would have all learned, especially in the preparation for the last match, that we would have all learned.
Claudia, how did you divide up the roles among the team to ensure that, your preparation is solid and whatever the perspective that you deliver a solid presentation?
From the initial stage, we realized that there were different strengths within the team. And so we capitalized on each person's strength and use that to the best of our ability to ensure that whatever it is that we do, when we come out on top. Also, throughout the preparation, we realized that some persons naturally interpret information. For example, Jonah Lee, she's good at research. So she would come up with most of the research material that we would need. And then you have persons who are great with analogy.
Yes, Peter.
You have persons great with rebuttal. You have persons who are great with public speaking.
Okay.
Yes,
She's pointing the fingers, listeners, so you're not able to see all that is happening inside here. But she's pointing fingers at her teammates in terms of strengths.
Everybody's strengths and put it together in order to ensure that we achieve what we set out to achieve.
And it certainly did work. Can you tell us of a time, Peyton, I see you want to come in? Yes.
Go ahead with the question.
Okay, can you tell us of a time when teamwork really played a crucial role in one of your victories?
Well, to be honest, I feel like the teamwork was there for all of our victories because particularly I remember one of our matches against, I think it was against one of our, I guess, brother
Would it be Legal and Constitutional Affairs?
MLC, so Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs. They took a position that we did not expect and that we had not prepared for. And in the middle of the match, we had to pivot, and between myself and Demoy, we had to totally rearrange how it is that we approached our argument so that we could rebut what it is that they were saying, because it was not what we had expected for them to actually come and say. So that teamwork.
I think that was the same match. No, that wasn't. That was a different match. A different match where we were right in the rebuttal during the.
So that's another
debate.
Example. So there was another match now where the rebuttal speech was not prepared beforehand, which was what.
And that should never be the case. The rebuttal speech ought to be written.
Well, let me say,
match.
when you are so accurately able to predict what it is that they're going to say, it is very simple for you to prepare a good and strong rebuttal speech. So you would fine tune it on the day, but because you know and you have studied and researched the arguments that your opponents are going to make, you already know what to say to rebut them and to diminish and swat away their arguments. So we had to pivot on our feet against the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, and we did end up coming out victorious, even though they were an extremely strong team.
Yeah, quite a few lawyers are on that.
They have more lawyers than us. They have more lawyers than us.
Yeah, Demo, can you recall your most challenging topic during the competition, and how did it shape your skill set?
I think my most challenging topic was abortion.
When you came with the Pepsi and the rusty nail.
And trust me, I'll tell you, it was difficult for us because I think most of us were really, we joke about it and be like, oh, abortion, so and so. But when we did the research, we're like, okay, this is really what we're going to have to defend. And some of the things we genuinely did not agree with. And some of the things, because MOJ is like a family. So the staff would see us and the staff would be like, me here say, I just get to know, we open up, to go defend it to know. And you're like, okay, but at the end of the day, it's a debate, but the research, I learned a lot. It was very difficult because it's not something that I was affair with or averse with. Jonah Lee and Claudia helped with that from a woman's perspective. I learned a lot of terminology in terms of before fetus, and these are little technicalities that we had to really go down to, if you understand, to kind of to emerge victorious. But it really was a challenging preparation, and we did well. I think the second one was the last one, which was the God clause. Yeah, that one, that one, it took us quite a while to prepare, and it took all hands on deck.
And that was the final.
Yeah, it was the final one. So we had to consult persons. We had an advisory team who we had to consult them as well. Even leading up to match, we were like, okay, what exactly are we saying? What exactly are we going to say? And it really was just focusing on 53.6. You understand? So that itself was a bit difficult, but we did, as they would have said, we did put in a sleepless night. I think when we were preparing for that match, it was a holiday. Independence Day. And yes, it was Independence Day, the Saturday. And we were at the office the entire day. Well, I left them, it was a Tuesday, yes, it was a Tuesday. I left them to go to Grand Gala, but I came back the night and we were there until I think after 11 that night on a holiday, and we had the match. I think the next day we had work the next day, so you can just understand.
Yes. And I hear that listening to you guys, and I'm hearing some of the skills that would have been honed during the competition. But Claudia, do you want to highlight some of those particular skills that really came to the fore throughout preparation and actual participating in the competition?
Research was enhanced, and one of the biggest, because I had a mad bunch dealing with, is tolerance. Oh my God. They tested my patience so much.
Right.
But the love and care within allowed me.
And Jesus.
And Jesus.
Praise God.
Yes. Oh my God. But tolerance.
Teamwork, I'm sure.
Let me just the tolerance in the sense, because I don't want it to come off on the podcast that we're a hard bunch to deal with.
No,
because we're not. But you see, when you have pay the command man, save here where this concert, save Claudia. But the truth of the matter is, you have 5 different personalities, all have 5 different points. You understand? Right. And at the end of the day, we're like, okay, when we get a mood, which points are we going to deliberate on? And then when everybody's like, okay, this is the strongest point, and you disagree against, and then you're fighting per se to really justify and show the others that, listen, this point is worth adding to the presentation. This point is worth mentioning. And it can be like a war room, but when you see all that chaos coming together in harmony, and at the end of the day, you see us fine-tuning the speeches together, even if somebody's point didn't make it, I would say, all right, listen, that one had the weakest link, it'll get kick off. You understand? But at the end of the day, we all come together. So there was a bit of but we really did gel and come together. And as you can see, it really was just, Pain will come with a point, Journally will come with a point, like, yo, this is the point, this point. We're like, Journally, how? Especially when you're not for it from the first.
So it's a mini debate within.
Yeah, it's a mini debate, and then even while we're preparing, Journally, who I'm just using Journally as an example, who probably from the inception would be against it. She'll be like, okay, let me just ask some questions. What would you say if so and so and so? Because so and they were like,
she's well versed at answering her own questions.
Yeah,
she'll have a whole conversation. She'll ask a question and then answer it, and then ask back the next question. She's talking to herself.
Yeah, and then you're like, listen, I'm just trying to put the point together. And she's like, but then more you have to prepare, Claudia Payton. This is what they're going to come with. So it's really just a beautiful process.
I could just imagine the energy as you were preparing. Were you natural debaters? I mean, Payton didn't say anything.
I have no debating experience prior to the competition. I'm a big talker. I love to talk, so I, jumped at this opportunity because I work as in-house counsel in the legal services unit. So I don't actually get a lot of opportunity to talk in my actual role. So, I looked at this as an opportunity to develop my public speaking skills and also to, test myself and see where it is that I could actually get better.
Yeah. Awesome. What about you, Journally?
So I would have debated previously. In fact, I've been doing debate for some time. Did it in high school, did it in university.
Look at you. So this was your perfect opportunity.
Let's just say on this occasion, I said, boy, it's been a while. We have to go dust off all the dust that has been dusting. And, just do something a little different outside of our traditional roles to support the ministry.
And for you, Claudia?
Well, I pulled on my Toastmasters skills. As a Toastmaster, you have to be able to speak. Public speaking is one of the main things. And so that helped me going along, despite certain little itches along the way. and I prevailed.
And Germaine, you were chief adjudicator.
I was.
And that
Can you
must
imagine the
have
pressure?
Yes, you did have some very close matches, I recall.
Indeed.
Jade has partnered with the TIU for this competition. And so, we want to find out how valuable is debating for public sector workers.
It is infinitely valuable, Aniki. You see, the public sector is a body, is an entity within the society that does a tremendous amount of work in terms of providing service to the public. And the interactions that exist within the public service in terms of employees and employers working together, that produces some dynamism that debating helps really to engage and to ensure that those dynamics and those interactions work very well. But also how it is that the public service engages with the public at large is also important. And so debating helps you really to develop the key skills that enhances people's interactions with the service at large. So debating is fantastically important and definitely something that we should be pursuing more of. Yes.
Thank you so much for that. You mentioned training. What did you cover during the training?
Right. So in training, we started from the vantage point of assuming that most participants in the competition weren't absolutely new to debating. So we had to teach them the format, the structure. We had to help them to understand some of the technicalities, like, for example, how to structure a debate speech, how to structure an argument. We helped them to understand things like point of information, rebuttals, all of those things, how to craft a proper rebuttal or reply speech. So all of those things we led them through, and it was very interactive. We solicited feedback from them at every single point during the training, and we gauged our presentation and our interaction with them so that by the end, we were certain that they were fit and ready to compete and to excel in the competition.
And I'm sure some of those skills could be transferred into their own work.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
How do you think debating has improved their ability to craft, present, and defend policies?
You see, I like to tell persons that debating is useful because it provides 5 key things that are just fantastically important for life at large. You're talking about communication. Necessarily communication is what debating is all about, yes? But you're talking about critical thinking as well. So you get the issue, you have to probe it, you have to dig into it, you have to understand it to such an extent that, you have to apply that critical thinking skill. And the more you do that, the better you become at it. Of course, critical thinking is also helpful in terms of problem solving. Every single task you get within the public service, you're solving a problem, and necessarily the more you do that, the better you become at it. You're talking about, collaboration. The team from Ministry of Justice, they're a team, and teams bring some dynamics that are important for you to succeed. If you are an individual on a team and you don't work well with a team, then likely the success of the team will be impacted adversely. And so collaboration is important. We're also thinking about creativity. Whenever you're on the job and your boss gives you an assignment or some task or something pops up, you have to always be thinking about creative ways to get around that problem, to get at the solution. If you're a person who just sit down and say, well, the problem is there, it's somebody else's problem to solve, then, the public service at large, if that's the attitude, the public service at large will not improve. So everybody has to be a stakeholder in the success of the public service, and being creative in terms of identifying the problem and the solution is also going to be hugely important. And debating helps with that, because what debating does, it gives you an issue, and you would have heard the speakers explain that a lot of times the issues, the moods that were given to them were not moods about which they were particularly convinced, they weren't supportive of the stance that was given to them. But that was a problem because they had to now find a way to marshal arguments that were, supportive of the stance that's been assigned to them. And so it teaches also empathy. We get a chance to put ourselves in the other person's shoe, and in so doing, we're better able to understand the way people think. We might not agree with them. Notice most of them said, we didn't agree at the beginning, and they never confessed that they agreed at the end. But that's okay, because at least now you understand the thought processes that other people hold. And that's a part of the incredible beauty of debating.
Mm-hmm. And the final C?
Oh, the final C. So I did critical thinking, communication, conflict resolution. Mm-hmm. Yes, conflict resolution is a big thing in the society at large. And we have issues every now and again where we see conflicts arising. Debating, the more you do it, the more you learn to listen to understand and to respond, right? And that again helps with conflict resolution, because by the time you listen, you kind of understand the mechanism behind how it is that people think, and that whole process and procedure leads ultimately to a sort of an empathy that ultimately leads to the de-escalation of tensions and hopefully, more often than not, the resolution. And you get to a point where even if you don't agree with the other person's perspective on your team or within the organization, you're at peace. You feel like, I not agree with you, but I can kind of see why it is you believe what you believe, or why it is that you act that way, and that's healthy.
Right. And what are your thoughts on the overall competition, the caliber of talent that you would have seen, the challenges to judges' decisions and all that jazz? How was it for you?
Listen, I welcome those challenges. Sometimes people think, they come to me and say, Mr. Barrett, I really don't want to stress you out. Listen, bring the stress. Because when you for example, when you lose a match and you don't believe that you really lost, and you come to myself or my colleague chief adjudicator, Cleveland Tomlinson, for additional feedback, it challenges us as judges to ensure that we are clear in the explanation, because the oral adjudication that we give Aniki is oftentimes so short, the debate is long, we can't cover everything. So welcome the opportunities to explain to teams, the ways in which they could have improved, the good things that they did, and so forth. And we've seen that throughout this competition, teams have benefited tremendously from not just debating in the instant when they do that, but also the oral adjudication and the additional feedback that we give them afterwards. It's really good. It's exhausting, I confess. It is sometimes taxing on the mind, but it's good. And then the more you explain to a team the rationale for the outcome, sometimes the team starts off a little upset. How you could have given them the win? You never hear the argument. You never. And when you explain to them that the challenge was in the weight that we placed on the argument, because maybe it wasn't properly what we call warranted, meaning it wasn't explained sufficiently, or we didn't see any evidence of it occurring in the real world. It wasn't mechanized. These are debate terms. Yes, the more we do that, the more they come to appreciate how the mind of an adjudicator works. Yeah,
and the judge's decision is?
It's final. It's final. And, Aniki, we spend a lot of time explaining to the teams why that is necessarily the case. I like to say, listen, football, you kick a goal, you score a goal rather, the ball goes in or it doesn't go in. It's clear for everybody to see whether or not the goal was scored. Mm-hmm. In a debate, you configure a panel of 3 judges, and those 3 judges try as best as possible to be objective, to be what we call tabula rasa, meaning blank slates. We don't come with any preconceptions of the issue. And we weigh the arguments as best as possible, because we know the teams have worked hard. They have invested an enormous amount of time, and we have to do justice by them. But ultimately, I will never say to anybody that we are absolutely, objectively, categorically right. Yes? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I say, particularly when the call is close, we say to them, another panel might have seen it another way, But ultimately, we do our very, very, very best. And the thing about it too, Aniki, is that the more we do it, the better we become at it, because a lot of emphasis is placed on the value for the competition to the teams themselves. Yes, and I agree. The teams derive tremendous benefit, but as judges, we benefit as well. Every single time the competition is held, and I leave, and I'm racked in conversations with my judges, just exploring the range of arguments and just talking about the things that we as judges have learned as well. So it's phenomenal for us as well.
And my final question to each of you is there a memorable moment or insight from this year's debate that stands out to you?
All right, so I think my most memorable moment was the match against MLCA. I'm not sure if everybody saw how defeated we were. Listen, after I presented and then the next guy went up, we were like, okay. When Peyton went and fumbled a bit, we were like, listen, we're done. And we sat there, we looked down and stuff, and we were in the group, and Johnny was like, guys, you got this. Claudia was like, them boy on the win. And the 3 of us were there because I think Oshie was playing at that time. We're like, what are they seeing that we're not seeing? And then when the match finished and you guys were and the judges were deliberating and we were getting refreshed, Joel and Claudia were like, listen, the points were solid. And then they didn't even think we listen at one point, then did have and we're like, so even with all of that, it really took some convincing. And when we got back in, we were like, okay, we're just gonna smile, just finish out the episode, and then just go out to ministry and then just say, guys, we're sorry. When they announced that we won, we were totally shocked. Jolie was like, "Me tell you so." Claudia was like, "What me tell you?" And the three of us were up there like, yeah. So that was my most memorable moment.
Okay, for you, Jonalie?
My most memorable moment.
Click.
You know what? I think I'm going to say my most memorable moment would have been the finals.
All
and it's not necessarily because we won, but it's because for the first time we would have had support from the entire public sector. And when I say support, I don't mean just to the Ministry of Justice's team, but to the entire competition. We saw where persons who competed on other teams, they were there, and even after the match and we were waiting for the deliberation to be completed, persons were coming over, they were hugging, they were telling how proud they are that they've been watching us, and we're like, ee. At least I was like, ee, you didn't watch me. But it was just that for me, the support, it was really, really nice. And I would want to say that I did look on or advise, I looked on our team's face, meaning the persons who were there from the ministry or minister or PS, and I tell us that them look good. So I say, all right, we now worry ourselves. We know it's going to be a tight match, but by the grace of God, we're going to come out victorious.
Okay. Peyton, what's your most memorable moment?
Of the entire competition?
Yes.
So I would think it's during the finals, a delivery during the finals, because I felt like they had started very strongly and that we were kind of on the back foot. And I had a very long speech, prepared, and I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to get through all of it, but I managed to make some solid points that I felt like really connected. And just looking into the crowd and seeing my minister there, and he was cheering when I was delivering some of my points, and just how the crowd was reacting, I felt like, yes, this is it. And then, when we finally won, I was elated. I was absolutely overjoyed because this was what we were working for all this time, because I was determined that we were going to win. And I had set a personal goal for myself as well to be the best speaker for the competition.
Really?
That was my goal from the inception. So when I achieved that as well, I was extremely elated, because the whole time I was pushing myself, I was like, we have to win, and I have to win too. So achieving that is the most memorable part of the competition for me, because growing up, I was never good at any sports. I love sports, but I'm never good at no sports. So I never have no trophy, sit down nowhere for look upon. So when it is that I was able to achieve this personally, I felt it was a huge accomplishment for me.
So that's a special trophy at home.
100%.
No, it's probably the only trophy at home.
And for you, Claudia?
My most memorable moment is the final match and seeing the faces, the support when we were speaking. And that helps, the shouts, the prompting and all of that leading up to when the announcement of the winner, and see us, if you look back on the video and see how we huddled, and when they announced us, it's just that feeling. Everybody was just hugging, and it was just such a warm moment.
Okay. And I'm going to ask the same question of you as I did of the team members. Yes. Is there a memorable moment for you from this year's competition?
There are many. I will speak about one. There was a match featuring Jamaica Information Service versus another team. I won't say the other team. JIS came out the second place finishers in that match. And they never understood. It was a match about needs and whether or not the concerns about needs, whether or not they're exaggerated. Yes. And it was a technical match. As on the panel, when we went to deliberate, we weighed and we wrestled with the arguments. And we came out with a particular decision that went against the Jamaica Information Service, JIS. And what was beautiful, it wasn't the match and it wasn't the explanation that moved me almost to tears. It was how JIS responded afterwards. They came and they huddled around me and they asked me for explanations. and I did my best. And I felt like they never quite got it, but then they got it to an extent. And this was the clincher for me and Iki. At the end, just before they departed, they bid me farewell, and one of the team members just turned back and patted me on the shoulder and said, Mr. Barrett, thank you so very much for being an inspiration.
Aww.
Because in that moment, I felt bad, you know, that I wasn't able to get them to a point of being convinced. But this team member walked back and said, thank you for being an inspiration.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's my best moment in the competition.
Thank you so much, Germaine. Well, I'm sure the competition was better for having had the participation of the Ministry of Justice. Congratulations once again, and I'm sure you're fine-tuning your plans for the next staging of the competition, right?
Yes, we are.
You have a trophy to defend. You have a title to defend.
And in preparation for that, what the permanent secretary has signed off on is an in-house debating competition that is supposed to be starting soon. And before we close, I also want to extend appreciation to our advisor team. We have an advisor team that advise the debating team, especially when we have disagreements. We would
refer to
them,
the arbiters.
And then the team, based on the decision made, the team would concede. So I just want to big up our advisor team.
Okay, so it has brought the Ministry of Justice closer.
Yes.
Right, awesome. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for sharing your experience with us of having participated in the public sector debate competition. We do wish you all the best in your careers and in your debating endeavors. I'm sure you will be going to church to have debating teams and so on, right? And that is how we wrap this episode of Beyond Reform, the weekly podcast of the Transformation Implementation Unit. I'm Aniki Clark, and my very special guests were winners of the 2024 edition of the Public Sector Debate Competition and Germaine Barrett, founder and CEO of JADE. They shared a lot with us about the power of debating. We hope you found the discussion interesting, and as always, you can catch up on all the episodes by visiting our website at publicsectortransformation.gov.jm, or you can follow us at tiujamaica.buzzsprout.com so you don't miss another episode. Take care until then.